Hi, my name is Ron Vroman. I'm the old man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. With me today is Charlie and William. Say hello, William.
Hello, I'm William Appel. I'm from Portland, Oregon, the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly.
I'm Charlie. I'm with the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, and I've been a native of Portland all my life.
And Richard's here too.
All right, Richard.
Oh, good.
Charlie, would you start with the prayer, please?
I'd be happy to. Dear beloved Creator of all that is, we are grateful for this day, another coming together of hearts and minds in common goal to correct the wrongs done to us, your children. With our gratitude is humility in asking for your continued grace and protection from any harm caused by our actions. We intend our goodly, godly actions to assist in the address and release of unnecessary difficulties, challenges, confinements, and outright violations of us, your children, young and old, who have suffered for generations. We take up the armor of God, your grace, in our earnest efforts on behalf of humankind. And so it is.
Bless this prayer. What I'd like to talk to you about today, I have recorded over here, and I'd like to run through this quickly and briefly, and then we can discuss it. What I'd like to talk to you about today is the Confederation that named the Republic and the preamble that was never ratified. It is a fiction, along with so many others. We really must watch what is written, not what you think is written. More of that when we talk about the Second Amendment. Then it is written words that count, spoken words in common law court, but recorded so the testimony is available. They can pass something in the legislature and not enact it. He who can be deceived, let him. I heard on the Republic the other day, and the same from a group back east that are all from the colonies. They want to hearken back to the Articles of Confederation and the Perpetual Union. In the first Congress, during the first thoughts about independence, most of the colonies did not want a Declaration of Independence. Actually, most of the people did not want to fight for freedom. I find that amazing, but it's true. So,
Okay, can you explain why that's amazing to you that most people didn't want to fight for freedom?
Yeah, now I was always raised and I studied the Constitution and all of that. I'm reading a book you gave me now, Richard, and I knew all that stuff. I just hadn't recalled it in a long time. Uh, I never learned that it was only 3% that actually fought until I was an old man. I thought that everybody wanted to, and it's amazing that they don't. They want to be told what to do and when to do and how to do it. And from my point of view, I find that amazing. But anyhow, they went from 100% unanimity under the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. Then, after the British surrendered and hostility ceased on the land, they kept up the war at sea until 1812 and after. One of the issues or problems with the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union that was governing the 13 brand new independent nation states was obtaining 100% concurrence. Very hard. So they assigned a committee to work on the articles so it would meet the needs to function as a united group of states. And move this down a little bit. That group, that committee, decided to write the United States of America's Constitution. When they presented their work to the Confederation of 13 states, several delegates were not happy. That's an understatement. Part of the issue was they were moving from 100% or 13 to pass any legislation to 9 to accept the Constitution. That was not fraud. They had a system that all agreed needed to be fixed. They knew everyone would not agree on everything every single time. And that's what it took when you had 100% under the Articles. Everyone, every single time on every issue. And it just compromised the system until it was ineffective. So they changed it.
But that was the whole purpose, right?
Yeah.
That was the whole purpose for making it unanimous for all these decisions, was so that everybody would continue to keep their freedom.
Yes,
right?
But it was unworkable.
Exactly. Well, I mean, we can see that today here in Oregon, where they have the temporary restrictions on us, and they apparently have a rule that they can't continue to put another temporary restriction on us again. So now they want to make it a permanent restriction until it's all over, the COVID, and then they want to remove it. But we know that they don't enact laws and then finally remove them later. They always stay, right?
Yes. And everything's under color of law.
Exactly. So they keep changing the rules so they can just keep taking more and more freedoms. And then apparently it started back in the 1700s.
Yes. Those guys were not nice guys. I'll get to that in a minute. So the 13 states delegates went home with the Constitution. They went back to their independent nations with an imperfect document written by revolutionaries, the leaders of tough men, killers. This was all the same flaws then as we have now. People are people. They were doing everything then. I'm sorry, the dogs are barking. They lied, they cheated, they stole 13 colonies from the strongest king on earth, then thought they could govern themselves as a republic of sovereign men. Women and children were part of a patriarchal family. There were more white slaves than black slaves. The indigenous Indian tribes kept slaves and waged war almost continuously among themselves. Read what the Comanches did after they got horses from the Spanish. The noble red man was a warrior mentality from North America to Peru. The delegates went back with a promise, if they ratified this Constitution, that it would be amended immediately with the Bill of Rights. Those 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights, were over 20 when the compromising began. I wonder which ones we lost out of that to wind up with the 10 we have. Anyhow, the Constitution they took home had no preamble. So, who are we the people in the preamble? I always thought it was me, that I was part of that. But I'm not. I'm part of the people at large on Oregon, or the general public on Oregon. I'm not part of we the people in the preamble of the Constitution. Those people performed fraud upon the people. So when you look around at who we the people really are, they're the founding fathers. The framers wrote that. It was never ratified. They put it in, and it is every member of Congress then and now, all the way to today. They're all party to the deception. Here's some things that I want to talk about. Go ahead.
I have a question about the intent to defraud. Isn't the intent to defraud rife with evil doing? Isn't that part of fraud is evil doing? And what did they mean? I mean, was evil doing part of putting the preamble in? Is that, do you understand my question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So what was the, okay.
Fraud's evil, Richard.
Sure.
When you attempt to and actually defraud all the people by putting a preamble into the Constitution that was never ratified, and then the preamble says, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, they didn't do any such a thing. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, so basically what they did is they took the contract and added to it after the fact, which is fraud.
Yes, and we the people are the Congress, and they were making themselves a higher level of people than the general public or the public at large. They were elitist back then. You gotta comprehend it. I'm not making it up. I didn't find it. Other people found it. It's the truth. You can look it up. It's done.
Yep, and they just keep repeating that over and over again. The group that met on Jekyll Island with
which clause,
dead, right?
Yeah.
Which clause of the preamble is a substantive change from the rest of the Constitution? What did they do that was so wrong by adding the preamble?
When you add something to the first law of the land that was never ratified, whether your intent was good or bad or for self-preservation or for personal gain, it's fraud.
Yep. We can look at the new 13th Amendment.
Yes, there's some more.
As another example of adding to the contract unlawfully.
Okay, here's what the preamble says. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah. No, let's read it. Go ahead.
We the people of the United States. There's a key. The United States was the group that was in DC that made up the Congress that was running the United States, because you and I are people of the United States of America as we were named in the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. That's who we are. So, we the people of the United States, that's them. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That's not me and you, that's them. To ordain and establish this Constitution for, and the United States of America is written with a small t on the th. Those guys were members of the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Unions. Congress assembled because they invented the United States and they invented the name of our land. So they knew when they wrote a small t on the, it was not the United States of America, it was something else. The whole thing is a fraud. There's all you got to do is just read it, and there it is, evident. Here's some things that I want to talk about today. Habeas corpus, Section 23, Article 1 of the Oregon Constitution. The privilege of writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless in the case of rebellion or invasion of the public safety require it. Okay? So I can't see any way that habeas corpus on Oregon can be suspended. The next one is,
Not right away, anyway.
yeah, not ever. The next one is 27. The right to bear arms, military subordinate to the civil power. The people shall have the right to bear arms for the defense of themselves and the state, but the military shall be kept in strict subordination to the civil power. And the next one is title of nobility, hereditary distinctions. No law shall be passed granting any title of nobility, but the Oregon legislature passed such a law. So those are some of the things I'd like to discuss. And Richard and I talked earlier. In fact, we went over this a bit. And I'm going to click here. I wish I knew how to run this stuff better. Okay. The Second Amendment, we're going to read this exactly. The well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay? If you have a militia, according to the Second Amendment, it must be a well-regulated militia. That's the only kind that is talked about in the Second Amendment. So that's something to keep in mind. Then the next thing is what they did in the Oregon Revised Statutes. The Oregon Revised Statutes has been a criminal activity since November 8th, 1910, when they put in Article 7 amended without any vote, and that's a whole other thing. But I've got
Into the Constitution.
Yeah, I've got militia generally. You know this a lot better than me, Richard. Would you speak to this a little bit for us?
The militia generally?
Yeah,
militia generally is militia. The term militia is 1,000, means 1,000 in Latin, right? So it's or all of us. 1,000 was a big number, vast number. So it means all of us, or all. And at one point in Oregon, the militia consisted of all able-bodied men between the ages of 18 and 45. And they have a right to defend themselves and their state. I don't think there's much I can add to that. It's just very simple, very all-encompassing language. But they were defending their families and their locality, their towns, cities, wherever they were. And potentially, they could come together and defend the border. But that
seems like those rules would apply with or without the state, right?
With or without, yeah.
With or without the state, we would be defending our family and our neighbors before Oregon became a state, right? So it was just a continuation.
Yeah, and that's why Article 1, Section 1 says all free governments are founded on their authority. Yeah, the people just do what they do, and if they want to do something else, then they change what they're doing. But if they don't do it, then nobody can. I mean, potentially somebody comes along and announces himself king, but I mean, that's only with the consent of those who are subjects that he wants to govern. But the people are the ones in whom all power resides. They are the ones that make all the decisions.
When did they put
Ultimately,
in
they
the,
have to defend themselves.
excuse me, Richard,
Go ahead.
when did they put in
Yeah.
the 18 to 45 bit here? Because when I read section 27, it doesn't give an age.
No, not in the Constitution. It's in ORS. It's in the ORS at chapter 396.
But the ORS has
Under,
nothing to, excuse me.
well, it previously did, and many of the statutes that are there had gone back prior to November 8th, 1910. You know, not many, but some of them, yeah. So that probably had been that way for a long time, since, I don't know, maybe from the beginning. Maybe that was in the first. I have no idea. I never looked that up. But I would say that the militia has always been there since it's in the Constitution, and they had to have some kind of implementing law. So I would say that it was probably there from 1859 on. Yeah,
Well, it looks like we're at the end. We're at the end of our TV show here. So
I'm sorry.
we want to continue on, and we'll put the complete show on YouTube so people can go watch the remainder of this on YouTube. But before we leave, we want Ron to tell us what's going to happen on April 3rd.
Okay. The Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly formed a grand jury, and the grand jury listened the claims against Kate Brown, Ron Wyden, Jeff Merkley, and Suzanne Bonamici. And those four persons all acquiesced to what was written. And basically, they have all broken their oath, they have no honor, and cannot hold a position of trust. So that's what the grand jury said. And the grand jury came up with a presentment, and that presentment went out to Ellen Rosenberg, the Attorney General for the state of Oregon, and two district attorneys, Marion County and Washington County, and the Judge Advocate General attorney for the Oregon National Guard. They all were notified that this had taken place by the grand jury, and they had a presentment, and it's their job to prosecute. Now, whether they do or not in the de facto is another thing. But we, in the de jure, the people, the general public,
The power is inherent.
Yes, the public at large, people at large, that group is going to meet in Salem across the street from 900 Court Street, which is the State House building. There's a really nice open area there, a square or plaza. We're going to meet there at 1 o'clock on April the 3rd, 2021. And at that time, we will read the arraignment for Kate, Ron, Jeff, and Suzanne to them if they appear, or to their counsel if they appear, and if not, in absentia. And the court, which is the civilian court of record that the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly started, which is the only civilian organization, organized government entity, whatever, on Oregon. Everything else on Oregon is The state of Oregon incorporated a subdivision of the United States, Inc. So the only civilian or civil government organization on Oregon, we get it. That's the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. So that court is meeting in Salem, and in front of that court, we will have at least one plaintiff will be there for the four accused to be faced by, but we've opened it up to as many as want to appear to put in their written claim against these four, or any one of them or all of them. Put your name, address, telephone number, and all of that information and what your claim is. Don't write a book, on a piece of paper and turn it into the court there at 1 o'clock that day, which is 4321, April the 3rd, 21. 4321. Nice ring to it. Anyhow, you bring your paperwork and you file it with us, and you will be a plaintiff if you show up at the trial. And we're going to try these four. We're going to try them into the de jure in an Article 3, one Supreme Court claiming original jurisdiction found in Amendment 7 of the United States of America's Constitution, where a jury will make the decision in law, and that decision in law has no appeal in law by any other court, making that Seventh Amendment court the Supreme Court, because there's no court that can listen to an appeal. So that court
Amen.
is, yes, exactly. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not sure, but I think we have a date set for the same place for the trial. But I'd have to look that up. I don't have that information in front of my awareness right now. But that's where we would like everybody on Oregon to show up.
Were we
4321.
thinking Friday the 9th?
Yes, that's exactly right. Friday the 9th at 1 o'clock, same place, we'll have the trial. Did I cover it all, William?
Yep, sounds good to
Okay.
me. We can go back to what we were talking about.
Okay. The unorganized militia.
And then when 1910 came around, that didn't change, but it has changed since then. And now what does it say?
You tell me.
Chapter 396?
I can bring
Well,
396 up right now. Yeah. I'm looking at 396.
Okay. So what does 396 say?
Okay, composition, command, and staff officers, 396-105. The militia of the state will
No.
be. You want to go back before that?
I want to go to the unregulated militia. That's a section.
Well, I'm right here. That's where I'm at. The militia
Okay.
shall be comprised of the organized and the unorganized militia. It doesn't say regulated. It says organized and unorganized.
Okay.
Okay. The organized militia shall be composed of the Oregon National Guard and the Oregon Air National Guard, which forces together into an inactive National Guard, shall comprise the Oregon National Guard and the Oregon Civil Defense Force, whenever such a force shall be duly organized, and such additional forces as may be created by the governor. Oh, so they give Kate all the power.
Okay.
Then it says
so what about the
unorganized. That's the next chapter
unorganized?
down. Yeah, the unorganized
Next
militia,
section.
yep, shall consist of all able-bodied residents of the state between the ages of 18 and 45. They just codified away the rights of anybody older than 45 to be in the militia.
Well, no,
I take, yeah,
it's
they
been like
did.
that.
I don't care. Whenever
It's
they
been
did,
like that.
whenever they did it, they codified away my rights.
No, they didn't prohibit anybody over 45 from being in the militia. It just says everybody that is up to 45 is in the militia. You have the right to turn out at the square with your rifle and
not what it
go
says.
out and maneuver.
Not what it says.
No.
It says the organized.
Okay, read me the prohibition. Read me the prohibition.
If it's silent on it, it's not said. If it's silent, it's not said. Okay, so it says
it's not said.
The unorganized militia shall consist of all able-bodied residents. Okay, residents is a key word of the state.
That is.
To be a resident, you have to be a U.S. citizen. That is a key word.
Some kind of a corporate entity and U.S. citizens. Tell us a little bit about the 14th Amendment, how that comes into play with this. How the 14th Amendment plays into this line, resident.
Okay.
Or shall I?
If you want to go ahead on that, because I detest the 14th Amendment giving privileges to United States citizens and not all the same privileges as Americans on their state have unalienable rights. Go ahead.
Well, during the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln was going through this freeing of the slaves reluctantly, but he was doing that. And Congress said, wait a second, the people that were formerly chattel property, on the plantations down there in the South, they haven't got any experience in governing themselves. So we think that they need to have a guardian, and we'll be their guardian. Congress will be their guardian, and they will be the wards of the United States. So that the language of the 14th Amendment is something like all persons born and naturalized in the United States are citizens of the state in which they reside and the United States, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Subject to the jurisdiction means, that's like a ward, having a guardian, right?
Yes.
The guardian gets to tell them what to do. Okay. So those persons, they're called persons, were under the authority of someone, which is a corporate concept. And because they were persons and acting in a corporate, in something consistent with corporations, and don't get me wrong, that's not where the term person and corporation came together. The Administrative Procedures Act preceded that by some time, but it was what brought us all into the current situation. And then we were all encouraged to forget about Americans. We were all instructed with our system of public schools that, well, we can have all the privileges and immunities instead of the rights and the responsibilities inherent to people, but we can have privileges and immunities of the persons under the 14th Amendment. Oh, privileges and immunities. So that's different. But we all
sure as hell is.
We have agreed to become U.S. citizens. And I have heard that it is difficult to undo that. But on the other hand, we have been defrauded into believing it. And if we have been defrauded into believing it, it can't be that hard to undo it. It's mostly a matter of awareness. If we become aware that we are not the children or the offspring of former chattel property, then we can't be persons who are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And actually, in Oregon, we are the people in whom all power is inherent, and all free governments are founded on our authority. There's no such language that goes with person. The persons don't found government, right? They're different than people.
They're
So
corporate entities. The unorganized militia, 18 to 45. So I think that they codified away my rights as an old man to be a part of the militia. Now, I cannot run and jump, and I'm not agile as a younger man, but I sure as hell can hide behind a tree and shoot. And I think that that's important. But then in the third section,
I think there's management needs, right? I mean,
uh,
that's what elder people do, is manage the militia, right? There's always a place for everybody. You used to be in the Navy. Not everybody was shooting. Some people were doing, excuse me, they were doing paperwork, and there were clerks. There was all kinds of things, right?
peeling potatoes down in the galley.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no prohibition against older folks being a part of the militia. It just says who shall be, who is, known to be. Anybody else
So
will.
do you think that resembles the law that they have in Switzerland, where everybody's required, all men are supposed to have a gun in their house? Something to that effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
they do.
That's their. Yeah, that's the people again. The people have all power. Doesn't matter what order they're behind. The people have all the power, and one of the ways to maintain the power is to have a gun in your house.
Yeah, so basically that's telling us that we have to have guns.
Can I make a point here?
We're going to be all. Absolutely. I'm sorry.
No problem, Richard. Under 3, where I take exception to the 18 to 45, it goes on and says, who are or who have declared their intention to become citizens of the United States. Oh, to be in the militia, the unorganized militia, then I have to expatriate from from Oregon as a free man and expatriate into citizen of the United States, which is a 14th Amendment citizen. Now,
Which is a person, which is a corporate entity. Yeah.
yeah,
And that is that's in, I think, a 2011 amendment to that section.
I'm looking here and I don't know which one is which, but it was amended in 61, 89, 2005, and 2017. So I'm not sure.
2005.
I'm not sure which one of
It must
those
have been the
is which.
2005.
But let's back
Okay.
up to it. Just back up just a minute. I've heard the phrase unregulated militia. And that's what everybody talks about is unregulated militia. But the ORS says unorganized militia. Okay, so now we're talking about two different things. So now if we go back over here to the United States Constitution, the first law of the land, and there can be no other law that conflicts with the first law of the land. If it does conflict, it is to be nullified. Now, the Second Amendment says a well regulated militia. Now, it doesn't say militia, it doesn't say organized, it says a well regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, not anything other than a free state. Doesn't talk about the United States, and they could have. They knew about it. They invented it. It talks about a free state. So the militia is for each free state, and we provide the security of a free state. Nobody else but the well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay, so now when I'm talking to the militia guys, they say Oregon has passed all of these laws against the unorganized, but they call it the unregulated militia because they call them paramilitaries or domestic terrorists, and they make up all of these laws against men that are in the United States citizenry that are subject to the Oregon revised statutes. And all of these laws, rules, statutes have nothing to do with men and women who are not in the United States. We have expatriated from being a 14th Amendment citizen to being men and women on Oregon with all of our unalienable rights. That's who we are. Now, the people that choose to be U.S. citizens can be over there and be U.S. citizens with their rights and privileges as given to them by the state. That's not who we are.
The problem is that those people actually don't understand the word play game deception that's happened. So they think that they are when they're really not. You said that there's the rule that says he who can be deceived, let him.
Yep.
Is that playing into this?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
But let's look at this for just a little bit. If you're a U.S. citizen and you don't know and you haven't expatriated to being a free man, then you are a slave to the U.S. citizen, which is the state of Oregon, Kate Brown and her group. That's who a U.S. citizen is, because the state of Oregon is a subdivision of the United States, Inc., just like the county of Washington is a subdivision of the state of Oregon, whereas Oregon is the free nation and Washington County is the free county unincorporated. The wordplay will just kill you or put you in jail if you don't know what the hell you're doing.
And then Beaverton below that, right?
Yep, Beaverton and Portland below that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I got the documents from the GSA for the Marco Hatfield building, 1000 Southwest 3rd Avenue, because I wanted to know if that was really United States, because the United States is allowed to buy land for forts, ports, and armories and buildings in any of the states if the state passes a law in the legislature saying the United States can buy land to build it. So I wanted to see the Marco Hatfield Federal Building is not on Oregon. Here's what they did. They had a taking, eminent domain. There were 6 parcels of land on that block.
Mhm.
And 2 attorneys wrote up all the paperwork. I got it all from the GSA. And those 2 attorneys identified it as the city of Portland, a subdivision of the county of Multnomah, a subdivision of the state of Oregon, a subdivision of the United States. There it is. 2 attorneys wrote the paperwork when they took it in eminent domain. So they took these 6 parcels of land on that square block.
The land
Hey,
patent?
well, I
What about
don't
those
know.
land patents that
What
existed before that?
I don't know.
That would be interesting.
You'll have to talk to Ron Gibson on that one.
Well, I've
But
looked mine up for my property, so I was thinking about that the other day, about that land that you've been talking about, and wondering if it still has a land patent in existence for that, or did they take that too?
I didn't see anything about land patent, but I did see the 6 parcels of land, different sizes, and they took all 6 parcels of land and they paid for them. The amount of money they paid for them is right there. And they did all of that and they didn't record it. They took the land.
It didn't happen then, if it's not recorded.
Yes, they took the land. They didn't record it. They paid for it. They built a building on it. And the building is on Oregon. The building is not on United States land. Okay, so that building is not the United States. Therefore, the federal district court in that building has never made a lawful decision in the entire time it has been there. Everybody that was tried and convicted there was tried and convicted unlawfully.
Wow.
That's just one of the deceits that goes on. But he who can be deceived, let him. But we're not deceived anymore.
Right.
And we're going to prove that on 4321 and then on 4921. Okay. Back to this.
Okay.
Titles of nobility. Now, there's a law, and Richard, I know, knows the law, and he'll probably quote it. There's a law that says that the legislature cannot pass a law for the benefit of any one specific group at the expense of all the other people on the land. But then they turned right around and did it for the Oregon bar. And funny that they did it for the Oregon bar, because all of the judges and all of the attorneys on Oregon are members of the bar. And the bar gets special privileges. Bar, by the way, means British Accreditation Registry. Now, supposedly, and I have not been able to prove this, other people claim they have, but I haven't seen the proof. Supposedly, all of the bar associations, Oregon, Nevada, Illinois, all of them, and then there's the international and the national and the American bar, and there's probably a half a dozen bars altogether. All of them are supposed to be subdivisions of the British Accreditation Registry. But here's one thing that I do know. Mahatma Gandhi was a bar attorney and a member of the British Accreditation Registry and practiced law in South Africa before he went back to India and become the guru of the freedom of India. He was a bar attorney the whole time. I find that interesting. Anyhow, backing up.
And hold on. I want to say I have proven it that the Oregon bar is the British Accreditation Registry. I've been writing to them. I complained about a couple of their members. I complained about Kate Brown and Ellen Rosenblum. I said, you got a couple members here that are defecating on the Oregon Constitution, and I know you want to do something about that. And I addressed the letter to the British Accreditation Registry, and they did not say one word about it. They did not deny it. So they accepted my statement of their personhood. You guys are the British Accreditation Registry. So I've proved it to myself, and anybody that now has heard me can say Richard L. Koenig wrote to the bar, and anybody can write to the bar and ask them for a copy of the letter that I wrote to them. But and then you'll see it.
Well, what else
You'll
would
see that they
R
were-
stand for anyway, right? I mean,
Well, some people have these theories about the bar in front of the court having something to do with their name.
yeah, fools. They haven't looked the
I
stuff
don't-
up in Black's Law Dictionary. They've educated themselves, and that's why these people in the bar and all their buddies out there get away with what they do is because we are generally uneducated. We think
are
all these
dumbed
words mean the
down.
same thing as this other word, and they're not. They're all completely separate things.
We are deliberately dumbed down. There was a proactive movement to do that. Still
Fluoride,
going on. Pardon?
the adding of fluoride to a lot of our water systems.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
a notorious thing that the Germans did during World War II.
Okay, I'm looking here.
Mhm.
There is no British accreditation registry in Black's Law.
Wow.
How about bar?
I'm looking.
At least in what's that? The 6th version there.
Yeah. Okay, bar association, an association of members of the legal profession. Such associations have been organized in the national parentheses American Bar Association semicolon Federal Bar Association close parentheses. The state, county, and even or city levels. New York City Bar Association. The first was established in Mississippi in 1825, but it is not known to have had a continued existence. An association of Grafton and Coos counties in New Hampshire had an existence before 1800 and probably a more or less continuous life since then, having finally merged into a state association. The membership may be either compulsory, integrated bar, or voluntary. They hide it really well.
Yep.
They don't want us to know. They got a whole column here of what BAR means, bar, but I don't see
But no British
anything.
accreditation registry.
No British accreditation registry.
I wonder what Noah Webster would say about that back in 1828, his first dictionary.
I don't know. We should probably look that up, but should we do it on this show?
No, we don't have.
No. I'm going to look up bar in my Living Webster's Encyclopedia Dictionary of the English Language. Pretty good sized book.
How old is it? How old is it?
I'll look that up. Chicago. Uh, 1971, 72, 73, 75, and 77.
Okay.
I've owned this book for a really long time.
Okay.
Okay. Bar. Bar, bar, bar. Bar. A vulgar Latin term. Origin unknown. A relatively long, evenly shaped piece of some solid substance, especially wood or metal. A sandbank in a river. A railing enclosing a space, as in the legal profession. A place in court where prisoners are stationed. Any tribunal counter. A band or stripe. A unit of pressure.
Okay.
To bar or fasten. That's it. No British accreditation registry.
I would say it's the first definition. Vulgar.
Yeah, vulgar Latin. Okay, British.
That means everyday language, by the way.
Okay, British. 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 And no, it's not here either. I think they try and keep that on the low down.
Okay. Well, everybody ought to try writing to the British Accreditation Registry over in Tigard and see if they get it.
Yeah. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now my brain went into a brain fart. What was I talking about? It was relatively interesting, but it's gone.
Probably had something to do with the bar.
The vulgar meaning of bar. The Roman vulgar meaning.
No, it was different from that. But in any case, I'm about to run out of gas, you guys. Can we wrap this up?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for appearing. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, William.
Yep. You're welcome.
I hope this spreads some intelligence out to all the rest of them that are listening to us, and I hope everybody shows up in Salem.
Meet us in State Capitol on the 3rd. Go to our YouTube channel, Facebook channel. Like and subscribe.
Good one.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. And then he jumps out of the car. And he's got both his hands up.
And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, to shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, shot him 3 more times.